Welcome to the Magic Hour Talk Show, episode 16. And we are still in a pandemic. I hope you're doing well, everyone. I love you guys out there who are watching me right now. I got a few good things today. You know how hard it's been for me. I'm not going to rehash that old news. But interview has been making the rounds. I saw some very scandalous headlines about this Tandy Newton interview. Now, Tandy Newton, of course, is a British actress. She went to Cambridge. She's currently starring on Westworld, among other things she's done. But I'm trying to think of something that she's known most famously for. She really hasn't had the kind of career she should have, according to her talents, because she's very talented. I think her biggest role was probably Crash. She played the wife of that, what's his name? My mind is going blank today. I'm sorry. But you know, if you've seen Crash, you know, she plays the wife of the black director. And I better look this up because I should know this guy's name. But yeah, she also was in Mission Impossible 2. Terrence Howard. Why can I not remember that? That's really annoying. People, when you get into your 40s, this is what you can expect. Just your mind not being able to recall facts that should have been readily accessible to you when you were younger, or was readily accessible to you when you were younger. It just takes a couple seconds longer to access whatever it is you're thinking about, and sometimes it doesn't even come in a few seconds, which is worrying. But so she was in Crash. She had that scene where Matt Dillon kind of molested her. He was playing a cop, which is strangely is kind of relevant in our current times with all this cop bashing that we've seen in the world. Some of this is very what's the word? Let me just say that some of it is warranted. I mean, we've had a lot of police brutality in this country, especially since 9/11. 9/11 really made our whole country a police state. And we've never really recovered from it. Even, you know, it's been 19 years and we still haven't recovered from it. But let me not get into a tangent. Tandy Newton, she made headlines because she had the nerve to say some borderline critical things about Tom Cruise. And it's funny, I've read some articles about Tom Cruise recently, and some things basically about his affiliation with Scientology and how he's viewed in Scientology. They pretty much, according to the article I read, they see him as a deity, and then a lot of things revolve around him. They encourage their members to watch his movies. Every time he gets divorced, they're on the lookout to find him another girlfriend. I heard somewhere that they were having like a casting call for women who were going to be Tom Cruise's wife, and like Scarlett Johansson. They were trying to get Scarlett Johansson. Actually, like they're trying to cast for a movie, but they were trying to cast it for Tom Cruise's wife. And they were trying to get Scarlett Johansson to be his new girlfriend. I don't think that worked out though. So I don't know. She made this statement about Tom Cruise I thought was very revealing. She says that Tom Cruise tries really hard to be nice, because apparently on Mission Impossible 2, the director John Woo wasn't really up to snuff or something. They said he would only speak Chinese while they were filming, and Tom Cruise kind of took over as director, and he wasn't satisfied with her performance in a scene, and he kind of made them switch roles. He took her lines and she took his lines, and like he was trying to demonstrate to her what he wanted. And that, if you know anything about acting, like I did a little studying about acting when I was in film school, and that's one thing: you never give actors a line reading. You never say like, "Won't you say it like this?" You never do that, because actors have to come into a moment organically. You have to pretty much what you would do rather than give them a line reading is you would tell them at this point in the story your character is feeling this way. When they say this, they're probably feeling this emotion. They're probably thinking this. You give them things to work with so that they can come to the emotional response in their voice. Because that's mostly what line reading is about, giving the actor this what you want them to convey emotionally. But you can't really do that because that's not how actors work. So Tom Cruise did something akin to a line reading, and she wasn't having it. And what ended up happening is they ended up reshooting the scene later. And I guess what he really wanted was Tom Cruise wanted her to be this is her where she wanted her to be an alpha bitch or something. I think that's how she termed it. But so let me pick it up here about what he says. Which nothing surprised me, Alex. Alex is the reviewer. It really doesn't. If someone's a colleague, you don't want to massively think about what they're like as a partner. They're talking about Paul Higgis, who was the director of Crash. He had some allegations thrown his way, I think. I tell you that with Paul, he was concerned that I was going to feel comfortable in that scene. She's talking about that scene in Crash, which we will get back to later because I don't really understand what she was saying about that for a very particular reason. Anyway, let me go back to it. I didn't feel anything predatory about him. Here's the other thing. I was only on the movie for a few days, so the time I spent with Paul has not been so much, but obviously we did the press thing together. I certainly didn't know him well. I was aware of his being a Scientologist, which was surprising to me. Just any person who's really smart, I find it strange. I've worked with Tom Cruise, and he was very generous and open about sharing Scientological stuff. Christmas gifts would be something to do with Scientology. And they asked him, like what? Like a book with the greatest hits of Scientology, a bit like a Bible kind of thing. I was curious because it's like, wow, if it's going to attract people, powerful, high-profile people, there's got to be some glue that sticks this shit together. Didn't find any. So she kind of bashed Scientology a little bit. And the interviewer asked her, what was your experience like on Mission Impossible 2, and why didn't you do another one? Oh, I was never asked. I was so scared of Tom. He was a very dominant individual. He tries super hard to be a nice person, but the pressure, he takes on a lot. And I think he has a sense that only he can do everything as best as it can be done. There was one time we were doing this night scene. There was many extras, pyrotechnics, and you name it. And it was a scene with him and me on the balcony. And I don't think it was a very well-written scene. I get angry with him. We're frustrated with each other. We're looking out over Spain. It wasn't going well, and John Woo, bless him, wasn't there. He was downstairs looking at everything on a monitor, and John had made a decision at the beginning of the movie, unbeknownst certainly to me, that he didn't speak English, which I think was very helpful to him, but it was extremely unhelpful to the rest of us. So this scene was happening, and Tom was not happy with what I was doing because I had the shittiest lines. So anyway, it goes into, what I probably basically just told you. But I guess the most controversial things is that she admits that Tom Cruise can get pimples. Here's what she says. I remember at the beginning of the night seeing this slight red mark on his nose, and by the end of the night, I kid you not, this was how his metabolism is so fierce. He had a big white head where that red dot was. It would take anyone else 48 hours to manifest a zit. I saw it growing, and it was like the zit was me, just getting bigger and bigger. I remember calling Jonathan Demme, the director, as an aside. I described the night to him a nightmare. As I was describing it, it was clear that I thought I was the big problem. And Jonathan was like, "Tandy, shame on you for not backing yourself." He was really sweet. And then Tom called and I thought, oh, this is it, the apology. No, he was just like, we're going to reshoot this next week. And I'm like, way brilliant. And the next time we shot it, I went in there and I just basically because I realized what he wanted. He just wanted this alpha bitch. And I did as best I could. It's not the best way to get the best work out of someone. Then she goes on to say he wasn't horrible. He was really stressed. And that she got the role basically because she had done another movie with Nicole Kidman. So good on Nicole Kidman for actually, suggesting a black actress. She could have suggested herself for Mission Impossible, I always got the feeling that Nicole Kidman was such a good person. And that's primarily why she probably ended up splitting with Tom Cruise. She says Nicole was a huge advocate for me. So was that really controversial? Not really. She actually says in her interview there's some stuff she's putting in her little black book that she's not going to release till she's on her deathbed. So apparently she has some stuff. She talks about sexual abuse that she suffered in Hollywood, particularly from this director of this one of her first movies. So I encourage you to read this article in its entirety. Is it the most interesting interview I've read with an actor? No, it's not. I've read much better interviews with actors. But like I said, she hasn't been given the roles that I think her talent demanded. So, I don't know. I feel kind of bad for her the way she talks about it. Because she is talented. There's no doubt about it. If you watch her on Westworld, she is great on Westworld. I wish the writing was a little bit better on Westworld. I did a episode about Westworld, but I didn't follow up on it because I don't know, got lost in the sauce somewhere. So she's talking about this. This is the part that really threw me. She claims, and I say she claims because I can't wrap my head around this happening. For one thing, I know Hollywood movies are shot out of sequence. Hollywood movies are usually shot in the order of whatever location they're in. So let's say you're going to shoot you have to shoot a bunch of scenes in one location on a mountain somewhere. Maybe that's not a good example. You're gonna shoot a series of scenes in the Four Seasons. Are you going to shoot the whole movie in order? You're going to go to Four Seasons this day and then go to another location and then come back? No, you're not going to do that because it costs money to pay for locations. So what you do is you shoot all the scenes that are going to be shot. You block off like a week or whatever it is going to take. Your production manager or whatever would figure out how long it's going to take to shoot those scenes. You pay for that amount of time for that location. And you go in there and you shoot every scene. So that's why actors have it kind of hard. They really do. So when you think about the fact that they have to manufacture this emotion, and they have to know, they have to go into a scene sometime not knowing where it fits into the broader story unless they've read the whole script over and over again. But they have to know what happened right before they step into the scene, and they have to manufacture that emotion. It's really kind of a hard job, but they have to do it out of sequence. So I can understand how she might not have understood that she was going to have this scene with Matt Dillon, but I just don't understand how. We'll get to it. So so the interviewer starts with saying, to switch gears slightly, I want to talk about Crash. And then she says, Crash, that's got a chapter in my black book, I'm afraid, babe. So apparently some stuff happened on the Crash set that she's not even revealing in this interview. So the interviewer says, how the sexual assault scene got shot sounded dodgy, to say the least. And it was not clear to me what happened. I want to ask you what happened. And she says, I wouldn't say it was dodgy. It was certainly not from Paul Haggis' point of view. Everything that he did was right on. The irony is that in the script, it wasn't specific with what his hand was doing inside her skirt. Okay, so that clears it up a little bit. I still can't quite believe that she didn't know that was going to happen. And this is why. It was just his hand goes up her skirt and that's it. And then in the later scene when she's screaming at her husband, she says, you just let him finger your wife. I thought she was being ironic. I thought she was saying the worst thing she could imagine because she was trying to make a point to her husband. Because frankly, if I had been finger by a cop, I wouldn't even be able to talk. But we shot the argument scene already. So weeks later, we came to shoot the scene, the last scene for me, the scene with the cop. At the beginning of the night, oh God, Paul Haggis got me and Matt Dillon together in front of Matt. He said to me, are you wearing protective underwear? And I have no idea what that means. I guess there's some underwear that actresses can wear in scenes like this that protect them. And they're both looking at their feet. And I'm like, I'm just wearing under. Yeah. Why? Because I really want this to be as real as, I really want to go there. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I just want Matt to feel like he can. That's what the director says. And I realized what he was saying. I wasn't even thinking about the earlier scene that I had said finger. It wasn't until I saw the movie that I'm like, oh, f***ing hell. So there you go. She did not know, according to her, what was going to happen in that scene. I just find that hard to believe. She explained why I find it hard to believe because she had already shot the scene where she described what happened in that scene. And she says it's because she just assumed her character was being way over dramatic or something. And then she says, I went into the makeup trailer and burst into tears. I was really worried and I was upset. Not that I had to do the scene, but I was upset that I had no idea that that's what we were going to be conveying in the movie. Because as far as I'm concerned, to insinuate that a cop would hand rape a woman in the streets and in a racially charged way too, I felt this fear that I didn't want to be part of putting that out in the world because I thought it couldn't possibly be true. And here I am now working with Kimberly Crenshaw for the African American Policy Forum. Her Amazing Say Her Name, which is basically a whole campaign trying to raise awareness of the fact that, yes, black men are being killed up by the police, and it's horrific, but the numbers of black women who are sexually abused by the police, it is actually a phenomenon. There are so many cases, but you don't hear about them. But that's how much I've grown. You could say that Paul Haggis knew a thing or two more than I did. So there you go. That is the most controversial thing she says in this interview. But if you read all the articles talking about this interview, and there's a lot of them, they're all talking about the Tom Cruise stuff, which was barely controversial at all. So anyway, she goes to talk about how some people just hated the movie, said it was the worst movie of the decade, and that they criticized the fact that Matt Dillon's character get a redemption arc, which I had a problem with too. I mean, it's really disgusting. This guy was so. Who would do that to a woman while they're working? Somebody that evil should not get a redemption arc. So I can see why people to this day they still bash this movie, and I think it did won Best Picture too, right? Insane. She was quite good in the movie though. She really sold it. I mean, when you see that scene, there's no, you don't get the idea that she didn't know what was going on. I tell you that much. Um, so anyway, they talk about some other things. She was in Norbit, and I never even watched Norbit. I remember my niece loving that movie, saying that was her favorite movie of all time. Of course, she was probably like 10 or something at the time. But it's a really interesting interview. For what it's worth, um, like I said, if she were white, she would her her trajectory would be a lot different. Oh, I forgot one thing she did say. One other interesting thing she did say. She was talking about Amy Pascal, who was the disgraced former head of Sony, and you might remember her because she's the executive that got fired after Sony's server got hacked and they released all her emails, and she said all these like borderline racist stuff, and I say borderline because the stuff she said about Obama wasn't even that bad. She's like a lot of naive white people, I think, her age, because I think she's like in her 50s or something, which you can come to expect from people in their 50s. But I guess she was going to meet Obama in the future, and she was talking with another executive and saying, "Oh, what should we talk about? What movies do you think we should talk about?" And the other guy was like, "Oh, probably 12 Years a Slave." So they rattled off a list of movies that he probably likes, and they were all like black themed movies. Like if you're black, you only like movies that are starring black people, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because any black person will tell you that they love, there's no black person that just watches movies with black people in it. I mean, we like to be represented. I'm not going to lie. But even me, I don't like slave movies. You know why? It's not because there is important things to be, conveyed in a slave movie. It's just that I don't like to be angry. I feel it's counterproductive. I know what happened in slavery. I don't need a movie to tell me. I've read books about slavery, a lot of books about slavery, and it was horrible. I know this. So I never really felt the need to invest my time in slavery movies. Now, maybe I should just to support black artists, but just the notion that some of the things Amy Pascal said in the emails it was infuriating, but not super infuriating. It was just kind of something. It's like she was trying to be funny. And man, you got to understand, a lot of these executives at these companies, these especially movie companies, studios, they're not really creative people. Mainly, they're good at making money. But you got to understand, they're not good. She wouldn't be good at telling a joke because they don't have talent, really, unless you equate being good with money as a talent. I mean, I guess it could be. But it didn't really surprise me is what I'm saying. So, but what she says about Amy Pascal, she said she had a meeting with Amy Pascal about being in Charlie's Angels, and pretty much Amy Pascal was discussing whether she could actually act like a black person, and her version of being able to act like a black person is, I think the example she used with Tandy is, what if we had a scene of you getting up on the table and shaking your booty? Because, apparently that's what some white people think of black people. That's the kind of stuff we do. So, and she was like, and one thing I have to mention about Tandy Newton, and I often forget this myself, is the fact that she's British. She went to Cambridge, for God's sake. But you would forget that she's British because I've seen her do so many American accents. So, in fact, I think one of the only movies I've seen her do a British accent was Mission Impossible 2. So, the fact that you would tell this Cambridge educated woman that you don't think she could act black, and let's be clear here, what Amy Pascal was talking about was the American black, because the American blacks are supposed to have a certain type of flair to them. So, and she ended up not wanting to do the part anyway, because of that meeting with Amy Pascal. And of course, Amy Pascal came out and said something like, "I don't remember this ever happening," which means it definitely happened. Because she could have just denied and said that never happened. But she said she doesn't remember that it happened, which is a totally different thing. It's the type of thing you would say in court, so you don't, commit perjury. So anyway, read this article. I thought it was very interesting. And there you go. It's on vulture.com. Yeah. So take a look at it. Okay, moving on. So last show I talked about a little bit about Dr. Disrespect, and I did touch on Ninja. Ninja got paid, according to reports, 20 to 30 million to move to Mixer, which went down in flames not too long ago. So in my last show, I was wondering aloud whether he was going to go back to Twitch or Facebook Gaming or either YouTube. And apparently he screamed on YouTube recently. And this, let me put this out there. I don't feel envy often because I like what I have in my life. I worked hard to get where I am. Am I at the place I want to be in life? No, not yet. I don't think anybody ever is. I would like this YouTube channel to blow up a little bit more. I mean, it's done a lot better than I could have ever hoped for. But at the same time, I just feel like I'm always looking for ways to make it better. I'm trying to look for that genius idea that will make me viral and bring more people to the site or to the channel. And then I read this kind of article and let me just read it. At the start of Blevins is the real name of Ninja. I get what's his total name? Tyler Blevins is his name. Okay, so it says at the start of Blevins' YouTube stream, he had amassed an audience of more than 150,000 viewers. He said during the stream that it's his first live stream on YouTube. However, he has tons of video on the service with more than 2.2 billion views, according to the YouTube head of gaming, Ryan Wyatt. 2.2 billion views. Now, people, I'm going to tell you, that hurt me inside because I know how hard it is to get views. And I'm trying to find my number. I think I have something like 90 million. Which you can't think of shit. You shouldn't shake a stick at. But still, 2.2 billion. I felt so much hatred for this man when I read that. So, I don't know. I just want you to know that I'm a human being. I have feelings. And I really want to kill this guy. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh, my envy was red hot, man. Okay. This article is not very long. It pretty much says Blevins is currently in negotiation with streaming platforms and no exclusive deal has yet been signed, including YouTube. And I'm sure YouTube is throwing some money at him. Because they did buy Typical Gamer a couple months ago. So I'm quite sure he's getting offered some sweet moolah. Sweet moolah. And he already got paid 20 to 30 million in the Mixer deal. And you know what? It was probably over a period of time. And because it was probably in his contract that if Mixer closed shop, he would get all the money. So he probably got, I don't know, most contracts are for like 5 years in this industry. So he probably got all his 20 to 30 million all at once. And this got me, and there's another article in Engadget about this. At the time, Slasher reported that Facebook offered Ninja and another top screamer, Michael Shroud Grazizgia, contracts worth almost double their multi-million-dollar Mixer deals, which they are said to have declined. Did you read that? Did you see what I just said right here? Contracts worth almost double their multi-million-dollar Mixer deals. So this article is saying they got offered between 40 and 60 million, and not only that, they turned it down. That's how loaded these guys are. Oh. My envy is red hot right now. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm all right. Oh, God, I need more coffee. Oh. Oh, God, people. Like I said in another video, I would take 2 million, just 2 million. 2 million. I would sell out for 2 million. I'm shameless. Anyway. Oh, God. I just, whew. Oh. Is he really that good? I think I've only watched one video because I'm very. It's weird that I can't. I don't know. I get impatient with gaming videos, even though I have a gaming channel, Power Up Archive. For those interested. Okay, let's move on. I just can't even. I'm just thinking about. I've been working since I was 14, and the fact that a guy can make $20 million from playing a video game. Wow. So there was a piece on Variety about, actually, this was all over the internet too. And I'm going to explain in a moment why I have mixed feelings about this. Halle Berry pulls out of transgender film role after backlash. Halle Berry has pulled out of a role in an upcoming film in which she'd play a transgender character after facing backlash online. In an Instagram interview on Friday, the actor said she had been preparing for the role but had not been officially cast. It's a character where the woman is a trans character, so she's a woman that transitioned into a man. She's a character in a project I love that I might be doing, Berry had said. She added that she wanted to take a deep dive into that world, likely referring to the trans community. However, Berry faced backlash online after misgendering the character multiple times during the interview. Who this woman was is so interesting to me, and that will probably be my next project, she said. On Monday night, she issued an apology and pulled out of the role, saying the transgender community should undeniably have the opportunity to tell their own stories. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to discuss my consideration of an upcoming role as a transgender man, and I'd like to apologize for those remarks. As a cisgender woman, I now understand that I should not have considered this role and that the transgender community should undeniably have the opportunity to tell their own stories, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. I feel kind of conflicted about this. And here's why. Scarlett Johansson was also considering a trans character a few months ago. Right? And she got the same kind of backlash. She pulled out of it. And here's my problem. You never heard about this movie again. So I can understand from a racial perspective why, like, let me give you an example. When I was in film school, I saw a movie called The Searcher, because in film school, they make you watch certain movies that they deem worthy. And one of those is Searchers with John Wayne. I still don't understand why people consider this a great movie. It's a movie I think it's by David, what's his name? David Lean, the guy that did Lawrence of Arabia, which is a far better movie. I really didn't get The Searchers, but I only saw it once. But I was totally thrown off in the movie that the villain, which is a Native American guy, is played by a white actor. And how do I know he's a white actor? Because the guy had blue eyes. Okay? No Native American has blue eyes unless they're mixed. Okay? I remember being very annoyed that they couldn't find an actor. If you're going to get there's not a lot of Native American actors, I understand that. But if you're going to get a white guy, you can't get someone who doesn't have blue eyes. And this is coming off of me just having watched Hamilton, where everybody was played by a person of color. But see, here's the thing. The reason why I think it's so important for black people to play black people is because of the history of this country, for one. And for two, white people have so many roles. They get offered everything is made for them. Okay? And there aren't a lot of good roles for black people. And we have a great many black actors. So there's really no reason, and these are popular black actors. There's really no reason for you not to cast a black actor in a black role. I mean, and there's only been a couple instances in the recent not so recent past. I remember there was supposed to be a white actor playing Michael Jackson, and there was some blowback from that. And of course, they were going to play him because, Michael Jackson had that whole thing with his skin. So I don't know. It just seems like I might be a little bit hypocritical here, but here's the thing. First of all, are there a lot of trans actors? That's the first question I would ask. And secondly, Does anybody know these trans actors? Because my problem here is that sometimes to get a movie made in Hollywood, you need to have a well-known actor or actress to play the part. That gets sometimes, a movie can be held up in production hell, and that's one thing that we're bringing out of production hell is the fact that you get a star attached to it. So my point here is that, yeah, okay, maybe she shouldn't play this character, but on the other hand, you're probably never going to hear about this movie again now that she's out of the running for the role. That's what I'm saying. And it's another thing maybe we should consider about this. Scarlett Johansson was a white actress taking a role from a possible role from a minority. Okay, this is a minority trying to get a part of an even smaller minority. So it's not a case of a white person stealing a minority's role. It's a minority stealing another minority's role. So I don't really know how I feel about that. I kind of think Halle Berry should have been given a chance to play this character, because this character was a woman at one point. She's a woman. And I don't know, I might get in hot water here. Isn't what transgender people do, some of what they do is kind of a performance? And I know there's people out there will jump down my throat and say, look, no, you can't say that. They were always a woman. They just, so when they transition, but see, I don't know how I feel about that either, because you got people like Kris Jenner, who was obviously a man for most of his life. Okay, maybe he did feel like he was a woman deep inside the whole time, and but I felt like when he started putting on the wig and doing all this, wearing dresses and whatnot, there is a certain amount of performance there. Him pretending to be, I shouldn't even say that because that's going to give me a hot water. But it's just, I feel like transitioning into somebody else is kind of a performance, no matter how you look at it. And here is, you got an actor who wants to do the same type of transformation. Shouldn't they be allowed to do that? So I don't know. It's a touchy issue. I understand why people would be upset about it, but at the same time, you're never gonna. I don't even think she revealed what the name of this movie was. But I never heard anything about that Scarlett Johansson movie. It was called Rub and Tug. Let me just look it up. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it actually did get made. And maybe I just didn't hear about it. Okay, let me Rub and Tug. No, this is not it. Can't be it. So I'm guessing this movie didn't get made. No, here it is. Okay. Because this project is categorized as in development, the data is only available on IMDb Pro and is subject to change. So there you go. The movie didn't even get made once Scarlett Johansson stepped away from it. So apparently they didn't. I don't know what happened. Maybe they did find a trans actor to play the role, but they just couldn't get anybody. They couldn't get any funding for it because it wasn't a known name. So I don't know. It's kind of a catch-22 if you ask me. But I'm not blasting trans people or whatever. But I'm just saying, maybe y'all should back off just a little bit until you give some more acceptance, and you can get to the point where you get some trans actors. Because a lot of, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You probably seen Scarface. Was it right for Al Pacino to play a Hispanic guy? Probably not. Probably in this day and age, you couldn't get away with that. But consider this. There were some Hispanic actors. Now, most of the actors in the movie were actors with brown face. Let me be honest about that. But there were a couple actors in that movie that got careers out of that movie. So that's another example of a movie probably wouldn't got made without Al Pacino being in it, and it benefited some actors. Because let me just give you a few names that came out of that movie. Stephen Bauer, who I recently saw on Better Call Saul. He plays a drug lord on Better Call Saul. He got a career out of that. That was like his first movie, I believe. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. You know, she was in The Abyss later. I think this was one of her first big roles. So, Marion Colin. I've seen her in some stuff. Hispanic woman. So there's quite a few people. Got to play Chi-Chi. I don't know what he's been in though, but it looked like he has had a career. So my point is, you know, okay, so your main character is being played by whatever they call it, cisgendered actor, but how about all the other supporting actors in the movie? The cisgender actor will get the movie made, and I'm sure there's some other supporting roles that will give some transgender people some recognition and possibly careers, is all I'm saying. Using Scarface as an example of what can happen when you let people play, you know, a role that's not to their particular race or gender assignment. So that's my only point. Don't read it as anything deeper than that. I just thought, I felt kind of bad because you probably won't hear about this movie, whatever it was, ever again. But enough about that. Let me move on. The Umbrella Academy has come out with a trailer for season 2. And let me point this out. I have not watched it yet. So you're going to get my true reaction to this trailer. Now let me point out, I'm probably not going to show the trailer because I remember doing a review of the first season, and they blocked a bunch of stuff, clips that I put up. It was very hard to do that review from what I remember. So I'm assuming they're going to block this, but just so you know, if I skip ahead, that's why, because I got a copyright claim. So let's watch this and see what's going on here. Okay, I'm definitely watching that. That looks... First of all, I just noticed in that last... So their father, I guess they go... this is... I forget the guy's name. But that's their patriarch. So I guess they go and get his help in the past. So okay, so just to recap, from what I remember from the first scene, I think didn't that show come out like 2 years ago? No, it wasn't 2 years ago. It was actually last year, I think. Had to be. Anyway, so from what I remember, at the end of last season, the girl that Ellen Page, is that her name? Ellen Page? Yeah, Ellen Page, she blew up the moon, and the moon was crashing down on Earth, killing everybody. So they went back in time to avoid that after trying to prevent that very thing the whole season, and they failed. So apparently they go back in time and they change it again, from what I'm understanding. something about John Kennedy's assassination. So the end of the world happens because John Kennedy got assassinated, which is interesting. This actually looks like Dealey Plaza, which, from what I've heard, they've actually preserved in its the way it actually looks. I've never been there, but I heard Bill Burr talking about how, I think on Joe Rogan, that they've never actually changed that plaza at all since the 60s. So it would be very easy to go to that location and shoot it. So that's very interesting. Look like we got some new assassins from the commission. They look like those twins from the Matrix. Do you remember Matrix Reloaded? And who is this guy with the fishbowl head? This is just, I'm not really surprised though. This show had a talking monkey butler. So as far as weird thing, that doesn't even, probably wouldn't even clear the top 10 with this show. It looks like a rocking good time though. It looks very beautiful. The way it looks, just the cinematography, I can already tell the cinematography. Whoever did the cinematography is top notch. We love the 60s. And I'm talking about Hollywood. They love the 60s. Just the whole look, the Cold War, all that stuff. And here in this scene, looks like there's some kind of battle going on. Maybe this is where they changed the timeline. I think those are Russian tanks. And I'm glad they had a little recap of everybody's powers at the very end of the trailer, because I totally forgot what some of their powers were. I know his is time travel. Hers is she's like a telepath. She can make people do what she says, which she demonstrated very easily in that scene. Luther's like the Thing, or Colossus or something. He's got very strong. And who is this? Let me play. Somebody dodging bullets. And his claws being, is he stabbed right here? That's interesting. Is he gonna die? Cause see, this actor, I forget his name. Let me get his name. Well, I don't see his name, but he was on Misfits, which was a British superhero show. He was very good, but he left it after the second season. So seeing him getting stabbed, he might actually die, because this actor is kind of squirrely about roles. He likes to move around with, and I can't see him staying very long based on his past history. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Looking forward. I will try to do a full review of the whole season. I just hope I have time, because I did go back to work, guys. But I hope I get time to watch it like it should be watched. Wow, good on Netflix for being able to put that out, because this is one of those properties that they snatched up after Marvel stepped out on them, which I'm still disappointed by. Daredevil was, oh my God, Daredevil was so good and was getting better. Oh, that last season was so good. The fact that we won't get to see what happens with Bullseye. Oh. And Vincent D'Onofrio was the perfect kingpin. Oh my God, it was so great. But c'est la vie, as they say. Wherever will be, will be. Is that right? I don't know. Probably got that wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not good with that sort of thing. So, yeah. Guys, I want to thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a loyal subscriber. Just thank you. I realize how valuable you guys are. So, in that vein, leave a comment. Or, maybe give me a like, give me a dislike. But communicate to me, guys. Tell me, what would you like to see on my channel that I'm not doing? I'm open for suggestions. But that's pretty much all I got for today. I hope you're having a great week. And I will, see you when I see you. Thanks for watching. And have a good day.